no. So FTX recently filed for bankruptcy. My understanding is they lost about $8 billion of people's money. And the top 50 investors were over 3 billion. And on that list, which was quite interesting, so you've got Sequoia Capital, BlackRock, Tiger Global, and the Ontario Teachers Pension Fund. And so that was quite interesting because my parents were both teachers, not they were in Alberta, so not in Ontario. But I read that the Ontario Pension Fund lost $95 million US, which is probably about 120 million Canadian. And so just doing some kind of rough math, like that could be as many as like 150 plus teachers that, if it was just 150, like let's just say it was isolated down, that could have wiped out their pensions, right? And so it's meaningful and obviously very significant when these type of events happen. And so I'm just going to share with you kind of how my journey in cryptocurrency has gone. And I remember kind of first hearing about it in about 2015, maybe even earlier. But I was at a real estate event and there was a couple of guys that were very bullish on Bitcoin and to a lesser extent, Ethereum. Okay, so these are two. I mean, probably don't need to explain what they are, but they're cryptocurrencies. And I was pretty ignorant to crypto, and so I really just ignored it, right? And it started to gain more and more popularity. And then I remember having lunch with a friend of mine, Sean, very smart guy, who's done very well. And he said, Shane, you really got to look into this, right? You got to educate yourself. And so I thought, okay, what the hell? I'll spend a bit of time and dive deeper into this world of cryptocurrencies and exchanges. And I'll just kind of share with you how it rolled out for me and why I was always reluctant to put any kind of meaningful money into it, right? Now, to be transparent, I did invest a little bit, but I viewed it very much like gambling. Anything I put into it, I assumed it would go to zero and I would be totally fine with that, right? It's kind of like when I go to the casino with friends, I take out a certain amount of money and I view it like this is just like my entertainment money, right? Like you go to Disneyland, you buy a ticket, you're going to have entertainment. If I go to the casino, if I buy cryptocurrency, that's exactly how I looked at it. Now, it's probably not the right approach, but because I did not understand it, I viewed it as highly risky. And if I didn't get anything back, that was going to be, I wouldn't have been upset. Obviously, it would have been nice to have made money, but I certainly wasn't banking on it. Okay. So, like I said, probably 2015, 2016 is when I really started to look at it. 2018, I think after my lunch with my buddy Sean, I went home, I started to research like where could I learn more about this, right? Went on YouTube, listened to some podcasts, bought a few courses, and ultimately I was like, okay, so it looks like you have to go to an exchange. And so the one that I settled on was Coinbase, right? Knock on wood, I was lucky because frankly, I could have come across FTX. Like whoever was putting out those courses, if they would have recommended FTX and I could have obviously bought and sold currencies on that, I would have been on that platform, right? Because I didn't know any better. It just so happened that I was on Coinbase, and it seems like that has been a good investment or a good decision, if you will, right? Now, what I found interesting was like when you buy these currencies, first of all, I had to use like my credit card. I don't know if things have changed because I haven't bought anything since 2018, and I was told that I should be buying this other currency, right? So I should trade or exchange my Bitcoin for Stellar Lumen, right? So I had to get off Coinbase and go onto another exchange. I bought this other currency and I didn't look at it for like 2 years. I went back in to try to log in. Sure enough, that exchange no longer exists. When I Googled the website and kind of looked around, I found out that they had sent an email out that went to my spam saying they were going to close down the exchange, and that if you wanted your money, you had like 30 days to get it off, right? So, I mean, if you think about this, it'd be like a bank, like Royal Bank or some other bank, basically saying, we decided that we're going to shut our doors, and you have 30 days. They don't send you a letter; they send you an email, and like there's so many words in it that would just trigger spam. I'm sure that they did it intentionally. I don't know, maybe they didn't. But I used to get other emails from them, and I'd responded to those emails, but for whatever reason, this one went to junk, and so all the money that was in there gone, right? So immediately, and this is immediately, like 2 years later. Obviously, I'm like disenchanted by this world, but like I said, I put in a certain amount of money, and I just wanted to see what would happen. Well, um, the other thing that I wanted to discover was how easy is it to get my money back out. And I can tell you that briefly, the ability to kind of pull that money out is not nearly as easy as it is to put in. And so that kind of triggered something else in me just to be a little bit more skeptical, if you will. And so this isn't a podcast or a video on where you should invest. Is crypto good? That's not the point. The point of this is really to basically just share my experience and journey, and then the thinking process in terms of like why I really never went all in, even though there was a lot of people around me. And obviously, if you remember the run up, right, from Bitcoin going to to 60,000 or whatever the number was, um, it took a lot of restraint to not follow suit, because I had one friend in particular, a guy that I go for wings with and beer, and he was making like 20 to 50,000 a month trading currencies, right? And he's like, "Hey, I'll show you how to do it." And I just thought, you know what? I'm not going to go down that path, right? And there was a few reasons for that. The first is, one of the principles that I have is I like to invest in things that I understand and that I have some level of control over. In the world of crypto, I always felt like I was um, inferior in the sense that I'm not a coder. I don't really understand this whole world. I didn't understand digital wallets. Like, it was taking an inordinate, a lot of time. I can't say the word right now. It was taking a ton of time for me to just understand this world of crypto, and it was changing so fast that I thought, you know what, I don't even want to play in this space anymore, because frankly, it's distracting away from commercial real estate, where I do have a competitive advantage, where I've spent the last 15 or 18 years, right? Now, I can understand, if I suppose if you're young and you really believe in crypto and it's something that you want to pursue, and you are going to take the time to educate yourself and learn how to essentially, transact and whatnot. Sure, I get that. But for me, I really felt like it was playing poker. And I know when I play poker with friends, guys that do it every week, or they play online, I don't go into it thinking I'm going to make money, right? I know I'm the idiot at the table, and and so I really felt like that in this world of crypto. Second was, I didn't have anybody who was playing the game of crypto at a high enough level that I could trust or shepherd me, right? Even the people that I knew were smart and that were doing it and actually making money, when I asked them to explain why they did it, what they were doing, how they did it, what their thinking process was, I mean, it would take them 20 minutes. And I still, like, when I explain, like, we build townhomes because people need a place to live, that's pretty easy to understand, right? Like, my kids know what I do. If I tried to explain to a 10-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 15-year-old, maybe not 15, because they probably know a little bit more, what crypto is and why it's valuable, it's very difficult. At least that, maybe I'm just not around the right people, but I've never found anybody that could explain it simply enough for me to really understand what the value of it was, right? And that kind of ties into the third one, which is really, I didn't understand the underlying value, right? Now, I get that paper money is being devalued with inflation and the printing of money, but I can still take $100 out and go to a grocery store. I can buy food, I can buy gas, I can buy a coffee, I can, buy soccer shoes for my kids. With crypto, it's not nearly as easy, right? Now, maybe there are some use cases out there, but for me, I just found the friction and volatility of crypto to be just not in my tolerance level, right? Like, hopefully what you're getting is the thinking process of why I do things and why I don't, and not to say that you should do and follow, but to create your own principles and frameworks for how you make decisions, if you will, right? Because I think that is fundamentally the lesson that I'm taking away from all of this. And hopefully it's somewhat valuable. Now, I do want to leave you with uh, the definitions that I use, and these aren't things that I came up with, in terms of what is the definition of investing, what is the definition of speculating, and what is the definition of gambling. And I'm going to give credit to two of the individuals that I cited, and I can't remember the third. So the best definition that I've ever read on what is investing is the reasonable expectation of a positive return in the future. Okay, and that was by Dr. Kingsley Jones. I don't recall the book that he wrote, but if you Google that, I'll just say it one more time. It's the reasonable expectation of a positive return in the future, right? So to me, that's why I really like cash flowing real estate, right? I buy a property and I have a reasonable expectation that as long as I have tenants, that is going to continue to generate money, right? Speculating is opportunities where the investment outcomes are highly uncertain. It's simply a game of skill. You're betting on the value will rise, and essentially there's no income being generated, right? Profit is when someone pays you more money in the future, right? That's really what speculating is. Like, I'm going to buy something, it's going to go up in value. And to me, that's what Bitcoin really felt like, right? I'm going to buy it, and if I didn't look at it like a store of value, like I know some people will. This is just how I thought about it. It's like, I'm going to buy this and someday it's going to be worth more, right? So really it's speculating because it's not kicking off anything, right? There was no return on that. There was no dividend. There was no cash flow. And then the last one, gambling, is where the opportunities have a greater likelihood of losing money, right? So that is the pure definition of going to the casino, where if you play enough, like especially like what do you call it? Like on the machines and whatnot, because there's no skill involved. You are purely gambling, and the house wins because the payout. Those machines are not there to pay out more than they take in. They would go out of business, and that definition was from David Stein. And so those three definitions: investing, speculating, and gambling, they really help me to frame how I make decisions as to where I'm going, right? And I've had painful losses because I have speculated and gambled in the past, in real estate, in the stock market, in other kind of private ventures. And so these painful lessons, if you will, have really kind of forced me to reevaluate where I will put money, where I'll put my attention. I think that that's one of the bigger things now that I'm just kind of talking about it out loud. And that is, like, I really didn't want to put the energy and attention required to understand crypto. And maybe that's short-sighted of me. But frankly, I didn't see enough people that I associated with that I felt it was a necessary or required, right? Like if real estate starts getting traded using crypto or NFTs or what have you, sure, right? I mean, I'm not going to be close-minded. I will obviously watch and see what's happening, but frankly, it wasn't high enough of a priority for me to put in the amount of energy and effort, and I couldn't find someone that I really trusted to help me with that. So this is probably a little bit controversial. Obviously, anybody that lost money in this FTX, one of my favorite football player, Tom Brady, was one of their spokespeople. Apparently, Steph Curry is kind of looped into this as well in some capacity. I mean, they had, FTX, that is. I mean, they were sponsoring Mercedes and one of the NBA. I don't know if it was the Miami Heat or who, but I mean, like, just some very, very smart big players all got kind of sucked into this. And so it is definitely a wake up call to kind of, pay attention. And just because you're following smart money, that's another thing that I have done in the past, which is I followed the smart money, meaning I watched what other people that were doing, and without asking the right questions, I kind of followed suit. And so, anyways, bit of a ramble. Hopefully the takeaways on the difference between investing, speculating, and gambling was helpful. And I'm not sure if I'll be doing any more of these kind of crypto podcasts, or videos for that matter. But if you're looking for kind of a really interesting interview, or not even an interview, is like these four guys that talk about it. It's the All In podcast. Jason Kalkanis, I think, is the main guy there, and they came out probably in the last week or two with a podcast that was quite fascinating. And so, anyways, I'll leave it at that. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.